Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you're ready to start your Tuesday morning with me, Maha Mukhtoom, on World This Morning, only on PTV World. And we have a wonderful show lined up for you. Yesterday we had the wonderful Nadia Hussain on the show. We caught up with what I did on the weekend. I hope you guys all had a very good Monday, but today we have a very serious discussion to talk about. Our topic is very serious, sorry. As you know, we've always highlighted, we've always tried to raise awareness, we've always tried to figure out what is happening within the education system. And last week we also had a discussion on the early education system within Pakistan. But today we're going to get a more full view about the whole picture from early, middle, and to higher education as well. Because within Pakistan, there are a lot of people who are working on this sector. As I mentioned, some organizations yesterday, I won't, keep mentioning the same ones, but there are some really good people doing a lot of good work. And today, we've got some wonderful guests in the studio to discuss what is the situation of the early system, what is Pakistan doing, how are we faring in regards to the rest of the international community. I know we don't like to be compared, and comparison is not always good, but sometimes healthy comparison is good to know that, are we at a certain level? Are we providing our citizens of Pakistan with the adequate and the right opportunities and resources so that they can have a better life for themselves? So to discuss this topic, we've been joined by some wonderful people in the studio, and they wanted specific questions, but I told them we're going to wing it. So no, I'm kidding, we've got questions. But we've been joined by Zulfikar Ali Malik. He is an author and a researcher, and he works with people in middle to higher level education. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning for joining.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, I'm swallowing half my words today, but I will slow down. Besides Zulfikar, we've been joined by Badr al-Islam. He is a director at Forward High School System in KPK. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Besides Badr, we've been joined by Usman Shaukat Ishai. He is the communications lead at the Children's Global Network, Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Thank you.
So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of information in my head. I need to get it out clearly. So we'll start with you, Usman. So what is the situation within the early education system? Because last week we were painted quite a bleak picture of the government system with the private schools as well. So tell us what's happening.
So if I start with the background, you see the Article 25A of Pakistan's constitution says that the state shall provide free and quality education to the children of age 5 to 16 years. So now that leaves the children below the age of 5 uncatered. What research tells us, the age bracket of 0 to 3 years and 3 to 5 years is very important for the children. Now there is a lot of research on this, that what are the benefits of early childhood education and development. So currently in Pakistan we don't see much being invested in the early years. But you'll be glad to know that the organization from which I come from, Children's Global Network, they have established a center called Parwan National Center of Excellence, which is dedicated for the early years. It is a collaboration between the Ministry of Federal Education and Children's Global Network. So they design different programs. They are involved in different activities which are related to early childhood education. I'll be talking about it later in detail. You can ask me the details.
We will. Okay, so you are working alongside the government organizations to improve the systems.
That's right. You see, as I told you, the government by itself, it is a priority. It's not a key focus area at the moment. But the private sector is, like I said, Parwan National Center of Excellence is a collaboration between the government and the private sector. It's unique, but it is coming up with very good proposals and things which are doing, which are quite beneficial.
Okay, we'll talk about that more in detail later during the show. Now, Zulfikar, okay, so we've got the earlier system sorted. Now, going into the higher education system, if that's the situation of your early learning years, what is happening in the middle school to higher school?
Well, currently, the current situation of higher education, I'm very optimistic about it. I won't be criticizing everything.
No.
Things are
We can
improving.
be constructively
Yeah.
critical.
So the things are improving, but you see, since I come from research, I have a background in academic research.
Yes.
So I'll say that there are a lot of problems while teaching research. So when you're talking about higher education, that is postgraduate degrees and then moving forward, there are some key issues that need to be addressed. For example, the very critical subject to research, that is research methodology, that is not being taught properly.
Okay.
Then the problem is that students are shifting from social sciences towards business administration, and then coming back to engineering and other things. They don't have a particular career counseling, and they're not sure what to do.
Okay.
When they see an opportunity, they go for it. For example, if somebody has a master's degree in for, let's say, social sciences, let's say international relations, and he then moves on to do MBA. So these are the problems that need to be addressed. But our higher education in Pakistan currently is spending a lot of money and resources towards this issue, and they are taking care of PhD researchers, PhD research scholars. So things are improving, but the problem is that I suffer I feel this pain of these basic issues not being addressed properly. If you address these core issues at the university level while in the classroom when teachers are teaching the students, then they can move forward to build this country a better place, and they're going to be sure about where they're going to go in their career.
So let's bring up the core issues, but we'll bring those up specifically in a moment. I would just want to paint a picture for all our viewers right now. So, Badr, you've been working in this school for a while, and it is one of the largest and oldest chains of private education institutes.
Right.
So tell us, what is the situation? Because there's a lot of confusion out there. Is it good? Is it bad?
Yeah, private educational institutions, there are two opinions about it. Firstly, we have to see what led private educational institutions to come up and cater to this. So when it comes to educational sector, we have a very vibrant private sector, and this is largely because of the negligible importance given to the education by our state.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the spending by the state to education sector is minimal, and that is negligible, and the schools are not well catered in all these things, and this then leads to the growth of private sector.
Right.
Private sector, it depends on the sort of purpose, like the one that I belong to and that I represent here. It is one of the oldest system, and it was established after partition, when there was a dearth of government run institutions, and since then we have been covering, and our position as a leading educational provider in the city has been recognized.
Okay, but how is it being recognized? Because as you said, there is a lot of private schools now,
Yeah.
and everyone has a different agenda, different motive for being out there. So how do you make sure that you are actually delivering what you're promising, education, quality education with future prospects?
Yeah, this depends on our students and how they are raised. For instance, as we earlier talked about early education, this is the aspect that is covered by private educational institutions, because we cater to the students below the age of 5 from age 3.
Okay.
And onwards. And when these students are able to reach higher education, and they are being raised, because now the dynamics of education and classrooms have changed. We have a 21st century, we have a dynamic classroom where students have to be raised in an all-inclusive environment where they are engaged, not only being taught.
Okay.
So when they are able to make it to the higher education and to their respective positions that are coveted positions, so this stands for the in private education.
Okay, so now I want to move on to Osman. So we've painted this picture now. We're talking about how you stated in the Constitution free and quality education for all children under a certain age. Now, we're all working with the private sector here slightly, alongside the government. How are we making sure that these other kids, the ones that are on the streets or the ones that go to the government sector, they also have these opportunities? How are you going to ensure that? Because these goals are to include everyone, no?
That's right. There's a program called Parwan Preschool, a school readiness program. It has been designed by very professional program managers. The program will cater more than 70,000 marginalized kids across 30 districts of Pakistan.
Right.
Now, if I tell you the background, you see, Maha, in Pakistan, more than 65% the population is comprised of young people. They are below
Yes.
the age of 29. And at the same time, you are facing the problem of unemployment.
Yeah.
The people are young. They at times they are educated, but they don't find jobs.
Yeah.
So there's a youth bulge being created. You see. Now this program is designed in such a way that it will cater the youth and the unemployment aspect, as well as the aspect of the early childhood education and care and development.
Okay.
Now, the young people who are at least graduates, or at times they have at least they have the education of matriculations up to the matriculation level, they will be trained on entrepreneurial skills, pedagogy skills, and they will be trained on certain modules on early childhood education and development.
Okay.
And in turn, they will open up ECD centers in their respective communities. Now that will cater what you were asking, the marginalized kids.
Wonderful. That's a great idea. Okay, that's wonderful because that's actually then giving opportunities. Now, these 70,000 kids from these 30 districts, how are you going to pick them and how are you going to figure out that these are the ones that should be enrolled in this system or this program?
You see, we have got the indicators, we have got reports which indicate that there are certain districts in which early childhood education, care and development is not being catered. And then you see need assessments are done.
Okay.
And then when the reports comes up, and there are certain other mechanisms to identify the children. Once you identify the young people who are going to be part of the program, they also, they also tell that what is the situation in their own community, how many children are there,
Okay.
and you see things like that.
Okay, now moving on to you, Zulfikar. From the work that you work with researching and with the higher education system, so this e-blog learning that you are part of, this is the thing. We're talking about it all-inclusive and trying to get the quality up to scratch, but we're focusing on a certain spectrum of the population. So how is your whole research? What are you doing in order to empower the youth and give them opportunities so that they can excel in their given fields?
Well, as far as I am concerned, I made my contribution about 5 years ago, back in 2010. I was a student of media and mass communications. I was doing my master's, and I felt the need of a platform for the students to share their voice, to have, to get their stuff published, and to have something like that. Because if a student of journalism writes something to a newspaper, he will not get a chance to get it published right away. So I created a blog that was first of its kind in Pakistan, that was live at campus. What I did was I appointed its correspondent and representatives in each major university of Pakistan. Nationwide, I created a network of students. And I encouraged students to, whatever they write, we are going to get it published. So the theme was you write and we publish it.
Excellent.
So I got a lot of positive response all over Pakistan. Students used to write their news stories, their articles, their even poems, their photography, whatever they used to make, we used to share it, and we gave them a platform to share their voice with the world. It's been 5 years since we have been running live at campus. So this was one contribution. And one more thing I'd like to add, that I very much appreciate the work that my friend has been doing, Usman, and his organization. Let me put your focus to a very key point here. About few years ago, I was working with for a documentary for United Nations, and we made an award-winning documentary that was on child labor. So we went to the slums of Rawalpindi and surrounding areas, and we saw a lot of children working with doing hardcore labor that is not supposed to be for them. I mean, 5 to 6 year old school-going children. And when I asked them, why are you doing this? So the sketch they created for their schools, that was very discouraging. They said that we went to schools, but they were not fit for our education. So then we decided that we should do something that can make us some money. So they left their education and came to this. So I very much appreciate the work that they are doing to bring children back to schools and to identify which children are out of school, because when your base, your foundations are strong as a child, then you can move up to become.
Exactly. So this is exactly why I keep jumping from Usman to you,
Yeah.
because he's the early one and you're the later
Yeah.
half. Now, let me bring Badr back into the conversation. They're working with marginalized children, as well as, obviously you have to sustain yourself. You also have to cater to the rest of the population. Now, going forward, what is it that you guys are wanting to achieve with your school? Because having such a long history and having certain expectations from the society, how are you now going to go forward in the 21st century, especially with the new, economic situation, with things developing, security-wise, etc.?
Yeah, first of all, when it comes to security, this has become a paramount issue, particularly in our province, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, because
Yes.
the two unfortunate incidents have happened. So, in the latest, we have devised our school and security council, and that involves members from our parents, members from academia, members from local police station and civil society. And we have been holding regular meetings at various intervals of time. And all these meetings we discuss on what could be done to increase the security of the children, because parents have been very cautious about, because once they leave, they are soft targets, and it is highly impossible that every child could be protected at its best. But with these communities,
It's not impossible. It's absolutely possible to do it.
It's
and
possible.
It's our duty to make sure that they're all
but
protected.
there's a factor to
And
it.
especially working in a school, you should not be saying that.
No, there's a pretext to it.
Okay.
That is there because the government, particularly the government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa,
Yes.
it has only relegated the duties to the schools to defend their children.
Right.
The police and all those, they are not cooperating as they should be with the
Right,
private sector,
that's disturbing
because they
too.
say that we do not have the adequate force to cover each and every children in each and every school, because already KP has suffered various onslaughts of terrorism.
Okay.
So this is only the solitary responsibility. So it is with these parents and our own expertise and our forethought that we are raising these issues. So this comes to
Okay.
security of the children. And when it comes to 21st century, definitely
Yes.
things have already changed.
Yeah.
And we have been involving students through interactive activities, mainly focused on activity-based learning, because now challenges are there are myriad of challenges for the people, because in Pakistan, living in a third world country particularly, there are not enough jobs for the youth, so they have to be trained in a way that they could be getting the best jobs. So 21st century demands that they should be taught some specific skills, that technical skills that allows them. So when it comes to activity-based learnings, we have installed smart board system that teaches students to gain acquaintance with the latest technology available, and we teach them how to be more proficient with this technology. And the same side, we also train our teachers to gain acquaintance with all these sort of technologies.
Excellent.
It is only in this way that I believe we can cater to the challenges of 21st century educational needs.
Okay, because that's the thing I wanted to pick. Usman mentioned that, we have a bulging youth, and they are going to, but I read that 70% of those are going to become entrepreneurs, because, they're going to create their own
Yeah.
jobs and, bring out new products, which is fantastic. Now, moving on, Usman, tell me, this Pakistan's commitment to the Sustainable
UN
Development
SDGs,
Goals.
that's right.
Tell us about that. How are we faring? Because as Badr just pointed out, that, things are being left up to people and schools themselves to achieve. So tell us what we're doing.
You see, the challenge which we are facing right now is 25 million children are out of school in our country. So, which is, I suppose, the magnitude of challenge is so intense that all of, you see, it's not only about the government.
No.
People tend to blame government all the time. It's not like that. Everyone has to make his own effort. Everyone has to play his own part. I would specifically like to highlight one person. You must be aware of Master Ayub, who teaches the slum kids in a park here in F6.
Okay.
So on voluntary basis, he's been teaching there for
Yes,
like
he was
more
on our
than-
show as well. Yes.
That's fantastic.
And then we've
to
also
know.
got, Teach the World and Muhammad Ali Said Foundation. These
Fantastic.
are actually doing lots
Fantastic.
of things. Yeah.
So it's not like you come from a flamboyant background or you or a well-to-do background or you come from humble background. So the effort, everyone, and specifically I would like to highlight that those people who are educated, who in this country, they have got a specific certain responsibility. They have to return in, in any way.
Okay, so let's speak more about
I was talking
goals.
about, you asked about UN SDGs.
Yes.
So the UN SDGs target 4.2.
Yes.
It says that we must provide early years education to all the children in the country. Because I've already mentioned it, I won't repeat it again. So the private sector is actually playing its part in providing the early years education and the program which I mentioned, which will actually help the government in achieving target 4.2 of UN SDG to cater early years education.
Okay, excellent. So we're on the right tracks for it.
I think so.
Okay, well, this is really positive. Last week it was a really negative picture of education. Okay, now, in order to develop and evolve as a nation and evolve the education system, the curriculum is something that people discuss a lot. And last week, Dr. Sayeda Iqbal also was on the show, and she was talking about how, there are different, education. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for a word, guys. I can't remember. System, and I can just use the word system. But anyway, so you have the American system, you have the British system, you have this system, you have that system. Now, that is obviously affecting the quality and the situation of our education system. Now, let me ask you this, Zulfikar, because you have done research, you are, you're with the postgrad students. That is detrimental to the system, the overall system within Pakistan, or not?
Well, to be honest with you,
Should we have a uniformed one?
Of course we should, because let me tell you that in my experience as a student, I have last year I completed my MPhil degree in international relations. So in different institutions I've been through, I have seen students come from different backgrounds. Someone has done A level, someone has been to Urdu medium school system, some has been to private. So this creates a lot of confusion and conflict when they reach to the higher education level, because no matter what system they come from, they have to combine and unite in the higher education, because higher education knows only one system, that is your university where you go to. So that becomes a very problem. That becomes a problem for every student, because when a student is coming to a university from Urdu medium background and he sees someone who has done, who has been through Oxford system or has done A level, so they have basic communication, issues, and then they get into, to be honest with you, I don't want to use this word, but they get into certain kind of inferiority complexes that becomes...
Yeah, there's the inferiority and then the superiority.
Yeah.
So someone thinks they're better, the other person doesn't think they're good enough.
They're not, they can't, speak with that confidence, and they don't excel with those students who have been.
Okay.
So this thing has been, in our country for a long time, and some people, they really, not some people, everyone, they hate it. Either you go for, you should have one system. Now what I propose for this is, because everyone talks about it, that this is for the rich and this is for the poor. So what you should do is you should have a combined uniform system that should be a moderate system, something in between the lines. For example, you should compare it with the developed countries. You go to Britain, you go to United States, and you find one system, basically.
And then there's the argument of which system is better, the American or the British.
Yeah.
So it's always a...
Well, both systems, I mean, you have to see the ground realities of your own country. Yeah. America and UK, they have different, they have different geopolitical, their realities are different, basically. Okay. So in our country,
they've tried it and it works for them, and they're finding ways
and
to make it better.
they are basically, they are very, very old countries. They have been through, they've been around for a long time.
Exactly.
Not unlike us, we are a young nation as compared to them.
Yes.
But what we should do is that we should learn from our mistakes. What the problem is, the irony is that we are not learning from our mistakes, and we know a lot of research has been going on the education systems of Pakistan, and everybody knows where there are flaws and how to fix them. But nobody takes courage, nobody takes the initiative. And then because to be honest with you, the situation of teachers and instructors in our public sector, that is not very good.
We are going to move on
Yeah.
to that, but I just want to focus on the education system quickly first. Let me ask you, Badr, what system are you guys using?
Yeah, we are using Oxford system basically because
Okay.
there's a lot of discrepancy in what the curriculum comes from the government, their textbooks,
Okay.
and what comes from our international publishers. Because
Okay.
we have to raise our children, our students in the best possible manner, and they have to be taught the best. And since I myself have done O levels, so I believe. And what I have seen during my educational career, being sitting with all those who come from other educational systems, there's a lot of discrepancy because now the time demanded, you have the best communication skills, you have the needed level of confidence to interact and go to a multinational level. So unfortunately, we have discrepancy between the what is being done in the state-run schools and what is done in the private schools.
Yes.
And there needs to be a uniform-based system because students, they need to be provided.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
for this,
Yeah, but so that's what we're discussing. We
Yeah,
know
but
that we
for
need that, but
this-
how do we get that?
yeah, but for this, government needs to join hands with the private sector. There has been a concept of public-private partnerships
Yes.
that has been running throughout the world, and in Pakistan, we need to work on it. The government needs to cooperate with private sector because private sector has the capacity, they can run the things more efficiently, and government has the resources. So while government provides such resources and benefits to the private sector, it will be able to lessen government's burden on its education sector, and both can join hands in hand
Exactly,
and work
but-
towards the uniform system.
So they should both join hands together at
Yeah.
the same time and work together. There's no like competition here. You want the nation to
Cooperate.
yeah, you need the nation to like excel and evolve now. It's it's high time. Okay, now I want to now move on because in order to achieve these, everyone has to work together. You have to have the civil society,
Yeah.
you have to have the government, and then you have to have the private and corporate sector as well, all on the same page. Unfortunately, we're still kind of jumping between the pages. Now, I want to ask you, Osman, with such a huge country, with so many different backgrounds, with the different provincial languages, all that, how do we actually get everyone onto the same page? Because it's very easy to sit here and say that we need to do it, but you have your cultural background, I'll have my cultural background, you'll have yours, and we'll all want that to be at the top. Why can we not find, how do we now find that, let's all get onto the same page?
Absolutely right. I think we need to focus upon the commonalities. There's so much common, although there are different languages, regional languages, but there are certain commonalities which bind us together as a nation, as a country. So we need to focus upon that, and same applies in terms of education system. But the point is, the quality should not be compromised. The quality and the type of content and the curriculum and the syllabus which is being taught in the schools, that the quality should be maintained at the
Okay.
highest standards.
And in your schools, what kind of syllabus are you guys using? Which system are you using?
Well, we don't have any schools, but we train people to start up their own schools.
Okay, so what do you encourage them to do?
They, you see, depends upon the entrepreneur
Okay.
who opens up the school. It depends upon his vision of
Okay.
his own school. So it absolutely depends upon him.
Okay, but when you are advising these people who are opening up their schools, you have that ability to create some sort of consensus, some sort of commonality between all of them. Do you encourage that, or do you say, okay, fine, you do British system if you want to, you do American system if you want to? Are you?
We don't bind the entrepreneurs to stick to certain syllabus or course.
Okay.
It absolutely depends upon him, because
Okay.
he's at the ground level implementing all the.
But that's what we're discussing here right now, about getting that uniform system. And there you're saying, well, actually, when you go, do whatever you want. Like, I mean, so how are we? So we're not really helping the situation, are we?
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to say, don't you?
Yeah, I was actually, let me add one point to the last question you just asked
Yes.
about this. You asked about basically about the, these provincial backgrounds, and this, and Usman was talking about commonalities. Let me tell you that it is very hard to say this, but let me tell you that this is a reality, that there is no racial discrimination, there is no difference in that. we all speak Urdu. I mean, and Pakistan
most
is
people, not everyone.
most of us. But you know, in our school level, in every province, as far as I know, Urdu and English, up to some extent, has been taught. This is not the point. The point is that the difference that it makes is the class system. It is the rich and the poor. Poor cannot send their kid to the private system, and rich will definitely send their kids to the private system. When they go to the private system, they will find this Oxford, this British, this American systems, and whatever is going on. And when they go to the government school, they will have this state-issued curriculum. When these are the things that create discriminations, and these are the things that create a divide in our society. And then there is one more very important thing. Since my basic, experience has been in higher education, so when these kids move up, you were talking about the early education level. When a kid from a government school and a kid from a private school, they reach up to the level of higher education. Most of the kids that can afford and had a private education, they move out, they go abroad. They have this goal all their life in their mind. This is very hard to say this.
I do think the brain drain is still that bad. I feel like in the last 2 years it's kind of getting better.
This is what you think, but you see, the most talented brains are still going out.
But then you have to look at why. I mean, I can tell you why.
Yeah.
I mean,
Lack
you
of
have to have
opportunities.
resources, opportunities,
That's right.
ease of work. I mean, even
Yeah.
if you're doing a good job, you won't get the job.
Absolutely.
Even if you're qualified. I mean, that's not everyone. We do have brilliant people who are still here, and we have people who are coming back. Can't be that negative.
Which is a good
Come
news,
on.
I
Yeah,
guess.
but
Please, I'm
since
just
we are
joking.
discussing, there are two sides of the picture, and we have to discuss both of them. We have to discuss the good side and the bad side. Let me tell you, you are very right. I agree with you that why they're going out. That is true. You see, Pakistan is producing a great number of entrepreneurs. I myself have had a startup few years back. So everyone is trying to do that, and in Pakistan, most people can. And then government, that is issuing some loans and for the youth to start, encouraging them to start their own businesses.
Yes.
The point is the way they grow up, the way they have their environment, that encourages them to go abroad, to have this one goal in their mind that as soon as I get my higher education or I reach a certain age, I have to fly out
Yeah.
of the country. So we have to stop this, and this is the way to stop this is not only education system, but that is also what we are doing right now. That is the awareness that we are creating through media.
Okay.
Now we are talking, people can hear us. So they have to, create some goal in their mind. Parents, they say to their kid that you have to become a doctor or you have to become an engineer.
Exactly.
This is a pressure that they build, family members. This has to stop. You see, I was forced to study pre-medical because I
really?
didn't have any other options.
Okay.
And I belong to social sciences now.
Yes.
So, but there was no, in my college where I was studying, there was only pre-engineering and pre-medical.
See, I think a lot of the time is people are too scared to break the mold and go
Yeah.
away from the norm. But we're going to I'm going to talk about the importance of this career counseling and teacher training as well
Yeah.
on all levels.
Yeah.
So we will do that. We're going to go for a short break. And when you come back, we'll continue our conversation. Stay tuned.
Situated in the heart of the South Asian subcontinent, Pakistan was the site for one of the world's most earliest human settlements. the Indus Valley civilization was filled with different cultures, religions, and political empires. This fascinating heritage is one of the many reasons tourists visit Pakistan, but it is certainly not the only one. Exciting adventure attractions, varied and plentiful animal life, historical ruins and monuments. All 4 seasons nature has to offer, and beautiful scenery are just a few of the many reasons to visit Pakistan. The hospitable people of Pakistan welcome all visitors with open arms and warm hearts.
Welcome back, everyone, and you are with me, Maha Makhtoom, on World This Morning, only on PTV World. And before the break, we're talking about youth education and research and the importance of paying attention to what's going on, what parents should do, what members of society should be doing, and what should we actually be providing our children. We've already talked about the education system, we've talked about the different private sector, the public sector, the government's role, and how can we move forward. But now I want to talk about the importance of having career counseling and teacher training, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're in a private school or a government school. It depends on your quality of your training and your background education in teaching children. If you haven't got that, you're not going to be able to become a very good teacher. It doesn't matter how much passion you have, you need to hone your skills, you need to refine them, and you need to have a basic outline, I think.
Yes.
Not everyone, because over here there's a concept that, if you're bored, you just got married, or you're waiting to get married, just go and teach.
Exactly, yeah.
No, that's not how it works, guys. It's a proper career. Anyway, the teachers of our past would be rolling in their graves right now. I know my grandfather would be just like, what is happening? So anyway, let's talk about the importance of that. We'll start with you, actually, Osman. On the basic, when you are, advising people, when people are coming to you with your different programs you guys are starting, how are you going to ensure the quality of education for these kids, the quality of teachers as well?
Well, there are certain standards which are supposed to be maintained. If you open an early years center or a school, you need to maintain certain standards in order to ensure the quality. And about career counseling, I would say that it is one of the most important aspects for one of the most important things in a career of a child. One is not supposed to overemphasize on a certain career path your child is supposed to follow. You just let your children go and explore their own world, and they need to pursue their passion. Without passion,
but that's the
whatever
thing,
career you're going
teachers need to understand that, and you need to be able to hone these things. So now, in order to maintain this, in order to give that child that confidence to pursue their passions or find out what their passions are, how would we actually ensuring that the teachers and the training is up to scratch, especially in the higher education system?
Well, let me, share my own experience with you. As a student, in every class, when we used to get promoted from first grade to the second to the third, the first day a teacher used to come to a class for an introduction, and they used to ask each and every kid that, what are you going to become in future? Everybody used to say, I'm going to become a doctor, I'm going to join army, I'm going to become an engineer. Nobody said I'll be a teacher. I don't remember.
Sad.
I have been going through formal classroom education for 18 years. So in my 18 years, I don't recall, there might be one or two, but I don't specifically recall that any student wants to become a teacher. The teachers that you see are those people, unfortunately, who cannot find another profession and they have to become a teacher. That's what you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah,
So
I
they
mean,
have to,
they've got this bad
yeah.
reputation.
So when they, yeah. Now, how to fix that is that the reputation of teachers that we have created as a society has to change. When you go to foreign countries, you see that teachers are being respected the most. It is one of the most respected occupation.
So many of my friends in the UK are teachers, and they've now traveled all across the world. Like one is
Yeah,
sitting now in Singapore, the other one's in Germany, the other one's in
exactly,
France. It's
exactly.
opens up so
So
many avenues.
So this is what basically our society is neglecting. Our religion teaches us to respect our teachers. Our norms, they tell us to respect our teachers, but we are not doing that. When a profession is not respected that much, and when people see and one more thing is the monetary factor. People think that teachers don't make to very much, I mean, a good amount of money. In fact, it's not the case. Teachers are making very good amount of money, especially when it comes to higher education. Teachers are earning good money. So, but unfortunately, these private institutions, as I'm not against anybody, but let me be honest with you. As I mentioned earlier, the class difference between rich and poor. I don't want to name any education,
No, let's not.
any educational chain, private chain, but they are paying as low as 10 to 15,000 to a teacher, a
I've even
kindergarten
heard that
teacher.
some of them are getting sick, so I do know that is out
Yeah.
there. So,
So
some of them are treating really badly.
yeah, they are actually, this is exploitation of labor. They are paying 10 to 15,000 to a kindergarten teacher. That is a
Yeah.
bad thing. That
That's
shouldn't
very
be
bad.
there.
Okay, so I want to get Badr's take on this as well. How are you guys ensuring that your teacher quality stays good? My English is gone. Continue.
Yeah, a word first about the importance of teacher, because if you go by Plato once said that the teachers of primary school are more powerful than the prime minister, because they raise up your generation, and that impacts your country then.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in our society, we see teachers by force, not the teachers by choice, because people who don't have been doing anything else, they end up being teachers. And this is an unfortunate reality, because teaching is considered a thankless job. And when it comes to private sector has basically elevated the standard of teacher, and in particularly the type of setup that we run, because my parents have been teachers themselves, and my grandfather prior to setting up their own system. And since I come from a family who has been in this career, I realize the importance. And when it comes to teachers and how we cater to their needs, we make sure that the teachers, right from the very basic level up till higher level, that is secondary or intermediate level, they are highly trained. And we then cross monitor our teachers through various and train them through various workshops and all these. So
Wonderful. No, I said that's wonderful.
it is, yeah, that's it is.
Okay, great. Okay, fine. Okay. I was just adding to your thing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful that you're doing that. We actually are running out of time. Is there any final message that you would like to share? Sure.
Yeah, the final message I would like to give is to the youth of Pakistan, and let me tell you that they need to respect their teachers. That's the first thing. And then the most important message that concludes everything is that they should start loving their country. They should start loving Pakistan. They should not be looking at going abroad and making money. It's not everything. If we get Master Ayub in every city, then we have a lot of potential to change this country. That is just an example that I'm giving. So we have to start loving our country and consider it our own home instead of a place where we are staying for a temporary base. I mean, we should not be thinking in that way. We should love this country. When we are going to love this country, we are going to make it a better place automatically.
Yeah, exactly. And what about you, Badr?
Yeah, each of us all should be putting up its share in the society, particularly in education, because this is something that affects every aspect of life, be it politics, economics, or anything. So every one of us should be putting, and the government must be cooperating with all those sectors that are involved in this educational sector.
Great. And Usman?
Well, my message is for the educated young people of this country. They bear a great responsibility on their shoulders, since they are the educated class of this country, to at least return back to those who are deprived of education in whatever means you can. You can volunteer to an orphanage. You can just teach the slum kids. Since you're educated, you can write articles in newspapers, like he was mentioning in his blog. And it's very important to return back, because these are the privileged people who are fortunate enough, a very limited class of number of people who were fortunate to at least have good education, they must return.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
It's
your
a
time.
pleasure.
It was a very interesting conversation, and not all is lost. It feels quite hopeful with you guys. So thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you,
It's a
Ma.
pleasure.
I hope you guys took something away from that. The situation within the education system is not completely hopeless. There's a lot of people doing work within the sector, with the government, in the private sector. But at the end of the day, we have to work together. I mean, this kind of division, we need to end that, because at the end of the goal is the same, that to make Pakistan good so that the youth and even the people living here right now can actually enjoy it and actually have an ease of life to a certain degree, and just be safe and happy and have a roof over their heads. So with that, I'd like to share with you the pages. So that's Facebook page is Well This Morning, Twitter page Well This Morning without a G, Daily Motion page Well This Morning, and our YouTube page is Well This Morning. The repeat is at 5 past midnight. I apologize for being a bit all over the place today, but I hope you guys took something away from it. Education is key. Without it, we will not evolve. Have a wonderful day. See you bright and early tomorrow.